Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Jody and I am here today on August the 18th, the day before a blue moon. And it is not only a blue moon tomorrow, August 19th, but it is a super blue moon. So I thought it would be fun to go ahead and look at a couple of pictures I did recently. One picture just last month of an actual blue moon, and this blue moon though is a crescent moon, so it is actually would not be considered a blue moon because a blue moon is a full moon, and a super blue moon is a full moon that is extra close to the earth. So this, while it looks pretty, is not an accurate display of a blue moon, but I thought I wanted to show you this because I do like how this turned out last month, and so I am going to use the same kind of idea for our next picture. And this is a page from A Million Cute Animals by Lulu Mayo, and I am working on finishing this book, and I have this page left to do. So I thought this is a full moon behind these two adorable little owls. I thought I would make this a night scene and make this not only a full super moon but a full blue moon. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my Paul Rubens metallic set of paints. I have added a little bit of water to this one here, and that one is called Shiny Blue. It is C400, so it's this blue here. This other one is called a Deep Interference Blue, but I like this one, so we're going to go with that. So I'm going to make the moon blue, so we're going to do that together here on camera. I have not treated this paper, so I'm going to be using minimal water, and then we will let it dry. Then we will be doing the rest in night sky, and I'm going to try and cast some blue shadow as well, so we will work on that. Read you a few interesting facts about blue moons, starting with the most obvious, which is a blue moon is not actually blue. So that's first off. Let me just start the paint here. I'll show you on screen a few pictures of blue moons and super moons. A blue moon is actually just a moon. A full moon happens every 29 days. So in a season, which is a 3-month period, there should be normally 3 full moons. Once in a while, there is a 4th full moon. And so that is the one that is called a blue moon because it happens once in a while, or once in a blue moon. Keeping the water to minimal, just using a regular watercolor paintbrush. Well, I hope everybody's having a great week. I hope that you're getting some time to get some coloring done as summer winds down. I know that my garden is still growing. Some of the items I have finished and harvested, and others are still going strong. Not as much weeding right now, which is awesome. I will insert some pictures of my pumpkin patch. This is my second year of serious pumpkin patch growing, and learning a lot every year I do it. I'll bring it down a little bit. I have 2 new poppies growing this year that I planted from old seed, and I wanted to share those pictures with you as well. I have some white poppies and then some beautiful light lilac colored poppies with purple in them, and I think they're just amazing. Okay, now we will let that dry. Now there's a little bit here and here that should also be blue. So I'm going to grab a smaller paintbrush for that. While you watch the video, I will tune in via voiceover to give you a few more moon facts and maybe a little bit of moon trivia this time. Kind of think that the moon would be fully round. I think part of it would come under here, but it's not drawn in that way, so I will leave that. And I'll just get a little closer to the edge here. We'll let that dry. And then I plan on using mostly some Staedtler Pigment pens and some Pitt Artist pens on this paper. It works really well. And then I also have this Faber Castell metallic blueberry, and I think that it would look good on top around to give some blue cast or some blue shading. So let's see how that works out. We also, on the bottom of this page, have some water, so it would kind of be fun to have these areas here as the metallic as well. So I'm going to go ahead right now and add some more water to my paint pan and go ahead and make these areas down here. And there'll be a little bit of shine on the bottom. Using a tiny paintbrush for this. Do all of the painting at once so that I can let it dry and do something else while it's drying. Comment below how you've done this summer. Were you able to get all your projects done that you wanted to, or are you still busy trying to wrap a few things up? I've been adjusting to life here with a roommate. My mom has moved in, so that has been trying to find our equilibrium, and things are going okay, but it is an adjustment living with somebody when you've lived by yourself for a little while. Trying to even get my filming schedule on track and stuff, so hopefully we will be up to 2 videos again shortly, but I appreciate your patience as we have a busy summer with the acreage and everything else. I'll finish off all of these and I'll be back after this is dried. While I have been waiting for this to dry, I have pulled out my Staedtler Pigment pen in Umber, and I have done the trees and also this area down here because I'm going to treat these as full trees. And I am now going to slide the page up, and I am going to use my Pitt Artist pen in Cobalt Blue 143, and I'm going to do the water underneath the kind of the top of the waves. For the top of the waves, I am going to use some more watercolor, and this time I'm going to use the Pearl Silver White, and that will be this top area right here. So while I wait for this to dry, I thought I might as well finish off that there as well. So just to let you know, do a little bit with you, and then I will continue on. I thought about doing this blue as well, but I think that white will be nice as well. When working on this Lulu Mayo paper, it just needs a tiny amount of water. Don't flood it for any great length. If you have to do 2 coats, then just make sure the first coat is fully dry before doing another coat. And I'm not scrubbing the paper, I'm just putting it down gently. Okay, I'll be back when that's done. Just working on the water here, and so I have used a few different blues, and right now I'm using sky blue. This is a Faber Castell Pitt artist pen, and I have also used cobalt blue 143 and ultramarine 120. So 3 different blues and 2 different colors of watercolor paint on the water. So, and I'll show you the back side. There is currently no bleed through and no ghosting. So as long as I keep it light pressure, it should be okay. I'm doing a little bit of voiceover with some moon facts and a little bit of trivia. I apologize if you don't like voiceovers, but it is very difficult to both talk and color at the same time. I'm not sure if you have tried to hold a conversation with yourself and whilst you are coloring. If you haven't ever tried it, go ahead and do that and see how it goes. It's I do a lot of pausing while I'm talking and thinking at the same time, so if I can just color and then do a voiceover, there's a lot less editing and I'm able to speed the coloring up a little bit so that it's still an enjoyable watching time for you. So I hope that explains why I do voiceovers. Okay, I'll do this bottom part and be right back. All right, here we are back. I have been working ahead and wasn't doing anything super interesting, so I thought I would just continue on working off camera, but I will show you or explain to you what I have done on the page so far. I've been starting on the bottom and kind of working my way up. I have been using mostly Pitt pens, so I've selected the Pitt pen Cold Gray 4233, and I've been doing the background. So that's what that is. The brown is still the Staedtler brown, and I also have, for the boat, I used brown and then a highlight in umber. So that's for the 2 little boats here. I finished off the blues, that's where I last left you, and I used 3 different Pitt pens for those. Now then I did the green here, and I started off thinking that I would use a combination of Staedtler Pigment pens and the Pitt pens, but then I also on my desk have the Spectrum Noir Sparkle brush pen in the color Sage, and it's a really nice dark green, and I wanted this whole page to reflect night, so I decided to use that, and I did it with 2 coats and actually quite heavy, so you can actually see the sparkle for a change, because normally these sparkle pens aren't very sparkly at all. It's kind of like Winkostella, which is I find also not very sparkly, but there's quite a bit of sparkle on here, and because I did 2 coats, it actually has ghosted through a little bit on this page, but that's fine. I can certainly recover this little area right here. So if I had waited for it to dry before doing the second coat, it probably wouldn't have ghosted, but I had it quite saturated, but it also is giving me the effect that I wanted. So then, like I mentioned, I used the gray for the background, and then these blue things here, which kind of, I'm thinking they're like moonlit kind of like, they could almost have been like aurora borealis or just some fog or something, but kind of giving it some atmosphere and some fluidity. So I have decided to bring out my metallic blueberry, and I have actually been taking this direct to the paper, so rubbing some right on the paper and then using a combination of a little makeup applicator and also a silicone tip tool to rub it into the paper. And that is where I have left off so far. So I've got to finish the top of this. These areas here I'm going to treat as if they too are similar to this. So I will do this. And then we've also got some up here. I'm not really sure why there's flowers in the sky, so I may make that some kind of cloud. Also this thing here, not really sure what it is, so I will also make this into some kind of cloud. But because there's all this wacky designs inside, when you do use the gelato, it's quite transparent, so you're going to see that through. So if you don't want to see that, you'd want to get rid of the white lines first. You could use some white Inktense block, not the Inktense pencil, but the actual block, and that may help get rid of that. Or use some bleed proof white and let that fully dry. So I might consider doing that, or I might just leave the lines. It's what would you do? And as you can see, the shine on the metallic watercolors. So again, this is the Paul Rubens metallic watercolor. I just have the small set, and that blue, really, I'm not going to do another coat. That was sufficient already, and the blues match really well. This is just a slightly lighter blue than this, so I think that the blue matches. And then the blue in the water is really cool, and then this white on top of the waves. So happy with how the page is turning out so far. Not really sure how I'm going to do the background for all of these leaves, but I might keep the this goes on so quick, although so do the markers. Do all of the leaves in green and leave it in gray, so that yeah, so that's where we're at. And I will bring you along as we continue some of the top page. What I will do is, because I think probably the most interesting part is this, I will go ahead and do some on paper and show you how that's working out. We'll work a little bit on this together. This is actually the following day. So I don't normally apply gelato directly to the paper. I do have a piece of plastic, just a moment, to put behind my, there we go. But I'm actually, because I want a heavy application of it, I am just going right onto the paper. Kind of like you would for a pastel, I guess. I thought about using some oil pastels, and I'm like, well, I'd really have these gelatos that I really enjoy, and I know that they're permanent and don't need to be fixed after they're dry, so I said I think I'd just do that. And they have a nice sheen. And I don't really mind if it gets a little bit onto the things around it, because at the end I may actually just come in and do a bit of a blue hue on certain things to give them some kind of some shadowy cast from the moon. Sometimes I find it hard to interpret what's going on Lulu Mayo's books, but so what would you interpret this to be? I mean, it doesn't make sense that it's a bush up in the sky, like on top of a tree, but maybe it's part of the tree. I don't know. What would you have done this as? Comment below if you have completed this page, how you colored it. Any of the pages that I do in the month if you have also you're working on them, or you feel like working on them, you can always send me a picture of your page. I'd love to see how you completed something. Either on Instagram, you can tag me or DM me, or you can email me at myjicolorist@gmail.com. So this time I'm using the silicone tipped tool just to show you the difference. So just to recap, since we are coloring blue right now, a blue moon is the 4th full moon in a 3-month period. And that happens about every 2 to 3 years. That's how that's going to look. And if you see, it's reflective. So the moon will be a little bit shinier, but I think the colors really do almost go together really well. So I could have done this moon in the Gelatos and not used watercolor. So if you're concerned about using watercolor in this book, in this paper itself, you could also just use Gelatos dry, and this is the metallic set, and really has given me quite the same effect. I know people have been commenting that they're struggling with this paper, and so I'd like to show you a few different things that you can use on this paper. Certainly my waxy pencils seem to work better than my polychromos. My polychromos are my favorite pencil, but I do find that the 4 Candies waxy pencils, they're just one of my cheapest pencils. I do find that they work quite well in this book. So the paper is fairly smooth. So that might help explain why that work well. But when I do have problems with blending or layering with my polychromos, I find the Gamsol helps. So even those are fine. So shout out to Candice. Don't give up hope, Candice, on using your coloring in these books. You can always buff it with your finger as well if that's something you want to do. The next thing I want to do is the leaves. There are a lot of them. Oh, here's another cloud. So I could do them, and it's not going to take long if I do it with the brush pen. That might look good. So we'll stick with the limited supplies and just continue using, and then I think that I will continue with the gray background as well, and so I'll show you a little bit of that. So this is the Faber Castell Pitt pen, which is pigment ink. I find that the Staedtler ink does move a little bit more, but this is fine. This is such a small detailed area, small spaces. Sometimes I will smooth things out with my finger. I'm not really going over any areas. It's only going to take one coat. If I really had some patchy areas, you can come in with some pencil afterwards, but we'll just have to see how that is when I'm done. Okay. Then the shiny leaves. Make sure that this is screwed tight and you haven't loosened it, because that's a disaster. And also don't push, like the word push here is to kind of get it started. Once it's started, you don't need to push to get the ink out. It just flows. and it's flowing really well right now, so there will not be a second coat. This is enough, especially in these tiny areas. Let that dry, and there will be a little bit of shine kind of almost everywhere on the page. Okay, I'll continue on with that. I'll bring you back when we do some of the little birds, the owls and the little birds, and we'll figure out what to do with these flowers that are kind of everywhere. These flowers could be on the actual tree, this one tree, so maybe I will bring in some pink, like a cherry blossom kind of tree or something, so I'll look for an appropriate color. Okay, here is how the page is looking with the background done in the warm gray or the cool gray 4, the cold gray 4, 233 from the Pitt pen, and also a reminder that I used the Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen, brush pen in Sage for the leaves. And there is some glitter on the leaves and only one coat. And one coat ghosted it a little bit because it was still pretty juicy, but again, it's fine. I did leave these little doodle things inside just alone, and so this is how our page is looking. So we've got a bunch of little flowers. I'm going to do them as pink flowers on a tree, so kind of like a cherry blossom. I'm going to combine both the Staedtler Pigment brush pen in rose pink and the Faber Castell Pitt Artist pen in pink Madder Lake 129. And I thought I would do the centers in the darker pink. Let me just zoom you in a little bit. And then this is the lighter pink. And for now, I'm not really worrying about shading, just straight coloring. Then once I've done the page, I can come back in and fiddle with shading and stuff. Sometimes it's just nice to get a page underway and not worry so much about shading and multiple layers. In small areas, there isn't a lot of streaking when you're using these mediums. If you're in a larger area, then yes, you're going to have streaking issues, but smaller areas doesn't seem to be a big problem. So even though some of these flowers don't look the same, I'm doing them all the same color. So trying to keep a fairly limited color palette going on here. So the focus will be on the moon and the owls. Everything else is just kind of blending into the background. Now these tiny things here, I'm assuming these are leaves from the petals, or petals I should say, not leaves, but petals from the flower. So I will finish off. If I think the flowers need a bit more jazzing up, I do have a Jelly Roll Metallic, and I can come in and put some dots in the center of the flower just to give it a little bit. But I think there's going to be enough shine on this page already that I'm not too worried. So I'll finish off the flowers down here and return to start working on the little birds. Okay, we are going to move on to the birds. We have finished all of the pink flowers, as you can see. Now there's a bunch of little birds that all look the same, and so I'm going to do them all the same so that they are all and I'm going to make them kind of just blend into the background. I don't want them to be the main focal point. So this is what the bird will look like, and to show that you can use pencil colored pencils on this paper, and I had mentioned earlier in the video that I like to use my waxy cheap pencil crayons or colored pencils. These are the 4 Candies mechanical ones, so I will show you how I use those. Here is, for your reference, are the 4 Candies colors. I have selected 18, 57, 56, sorry, and 57. So those colors, and then I'm just going to use the pink, the same pink that I used for the flower petals, for any little on the cheeks for the birds. So I'll zoom you in a little bit. Actually, we'll move up top where there's so many of them. They almost look like little rubber duckies, but we won't color them as such. I'm making them more into, I guess, a robin. So I'm going to use the flesh color at their heads. Get you on screen. And then the lighter brown. And then the chest areas where, like a robin, will be the redder area. So let's talk about what makes a supermoon. A supermoon refers to the moon's orbit and the fact that it is slightly closer to the Earth when it is a supermoon. So it actually appears larger than normal, and there's a picture on screen. So here is another option of what else you can use. So I would imagine any cheaper wax pencils. You don't need to, if you're having problems with your more expensive pencils and your polychromos. There we go. And that's what my little birdies are going to look like. Do one more together. This one has the little pink area. The pom-pom on top, I think I'm going to use some, maybe a little bit of iridescent medium on the top or something, because I think that they should be reflective, but so I haven't colored them anything yet. So we could do the top and then come in with some Winsor Newton Iridescent Medium. We'll do that. I'll finish off these birds. In fact, before we leave, let's shake up the Winsor Newton Iridescent Medium. And this actually can be added to any watercolor and to make it iridescent, or you can use it just as a top coat over top of colored pencil. And that's all there is to that. So I will finish off the rest of these birds. Then we'll move on to, I want to still get a more of a glowing effect from the blue, so I'm hoping to still add something to the page. So stay tuned. Okay, we're going to work on the 2 main owls here now, so I'm just going to continue on with the colored pencils, the 4 Candies, and we'll do a fleshy face. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is bring in the lighter blue. So I have 2 light blues. I'm going to bring in the lightest blue because I want to have some blue around the edge of this. So I'm going to kind of put that in now. So that at least it's there, and I'm going to bring in 53 as well. I thought I would tell you a couple of interesting facts about the moon. When we think of satellites, we think of things that run our TVs, but actually the moon is the Earth's only natural satellite. So the shadow or the moonlight is hitting the top of this owl's head, the top of his ear, but not the underside. Still working on my shadows and light sources. I think that's something that we all need to always think about. So the moon is our natural satellite. The Earth is actually 4 times greater than the moon in size, and the moon travels around the Earth. So it rotates around the Earth. The moon also controls the ocean's tides, and you can see the moon visible in the sky because it is actually reflecting light from the sun. If you love the moon, you might want to consider 2 different professions. One is a lunar geologist who studies the moon directly. The second would be an astronomer, and they study the science of all things outside of the Earth. So that would include the moon, comets, and galaxies. Let's complete the second owl, and then we'll come in and try and give some blue casting to this page. For our second owl, I'm going to do it in grays. So I'll use a combination of colored pencil and the Staedtler Pigment pens. And that's so that I can get the stroke-like effects for the feathers. On screen is a Wikipedia picture of the phases of the moon and how it travels around the Earth. Okay, now I'm going to again have some blue. NASA conducted many missions towards reaching the moon. Those spaceships were called Apollo. The Apollo number 11 is the first landing that happened on the moon, and that was in 1969. There were 3 astronauts on board: Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin. And the first man who actually walked on the moon was Neil Armstrong in 1969. By the time NASA was finished with their moon missions, there would have been all the way up to Apollo 17, with the last moon walker being on Apollo 17 in December of 1972. By the end of the missions, there would be 12 moonwalks and 24 human visitors to the moon for the United States. Okay, soften the edge around here a little bit. I will add some yellow. There have been 5 different countries that have landed on the moon, and that includes the Soviet Union, the United States, China, India, and Japan. Just adding a bit of orange to the yellow, and this is the same flesh tone that I used on the face of the other birds, so I'm not in bringing in a bunch of new colors at the end here, I will put some glossy accents over the eyeballs. Okay, now we are ready. Let me zoom you out so you can see the whole picture. Okay, here's the whole picture before we go and add some final touches. So just moving it in the light, you can see the gelato is quite metallic, as so is the watercolor. The watercolor down here, a little bit of glitz from, take this out, from on top of each of the pom-poms even. But what I would like to do is, there are lines along the top of the trees. I would like those to be blue. So I was originally going to come in with a dry brush and some gelato, and I still might do that, but I also have a blue metallic Signo gel pen, and I think I will outline that, and that might be better. So I am definitely going to first come and get rid of the black line around the moon, and I'm going to do that with the metallic gel pen. So I have done the side right there, you can see, compared to over here. So I think that that just starts where we want to go. I've also added it to the top of that, so I think I will also go ahead and do that. So I'll bring you back down. Now, if I plan on smearing gelato on top of this page, just make sure that I wait for the gel pen to dry, because I don't want to be smearing blue gel pen everywhere. So I do want the blue reflection to be on top of here. So on top of there. And I want it to be on top of these trees. Now, the blue should be shining over towards this tree, so I'm just going to do it on the side of the tree and on the bottom of this branch. And the bottom of this bird. So wherever you think the moonlight would be hitting, I'll wait for this to dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do some dry brushing of the gelato. Okay, here we are, and I'll move the page a little bit. I've got the gel pen all over the place where I think it should go. So you can see it reflecting in the trees and also underneath the birds and stuff like that, on top of the outline of the birds on some of the areas where the moon is directly shining on them. Now, part of me wants to say, okay, that's enough, just leave it as is. I'm actually happy with the page. And another part of me says, I wonder what would happen if I smeared gelato over this and made it look interesting. So I have two gelatos. I still have the metallic blueberry out here. I also have a metallic white one. The metallic white one is called metallic icing. So I'm not sure. I think maybe I will do a little bit of the white. So I'm smearing this on my Tim Holtz Media Matte, which I just have on a piece of clear plastic instead of on my actual Tim Holtz glass mat. And I'm going to take a small round brush and make sure it's clean. It's actually got blue on it, so I'm going to grab a different brush. I'm going to grab this one, and I'm just going to load it up with some of the white, and I'm going to smear where I think the so basically right around the moon area, and the white should just add some shine to the page. So that's okay. So far not screwing it up too badly. I'm worried if I do blue smeared everywhere that just might be too much. I'm gonna kind of do a halo effect around the moon. I've already got quite a bit of sparkle all over the page, so I don't want to get rid of that. But I can go over where the pigment pen is and okay. Add some right on the tree itself. Okay. It does add some glow to it. You do have to move the page to see it, which is okay. So it's not doing the a strong highlight effect, but I think that I will stick with the white instead of going with the and I'm not going to do the trees. I've used the Signo blue gel pen on the trees to dull those lines down, but I do like the sparkle that's already on the trees from the Signo sorry, not the Signo, the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. So I don't want to remove that, but I can do a little bit more white on some of these flowers. I hope you get a chance to go outside and see the super blue moon tomorrow night. You should be able to see it for a couple of nights, so if you don't have time tomorrow night, maybe head out tonight, and it should be almost full tonight as well. Okay. And I'm just going to go on top of the blue area. But I don't want to, just going to go over the blue part. I don't want to go over any of my metallic watercolor because I like that effect that it already has. So this will just add a bit of shine to the non-metallic parts. Okay, let's see how it looks. Remove this. There we go. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there before I get carried away, and I will need to leave my page open and dry. I'm going to also do the glossy accents on the eye, and I will need it definitely to be left open overnight for that. But the gelato is still wet, so you do need to let that dry as well. But I think we're going to leave it here today. I hope you have a colorful and creative week. Thank you for joining me today and spending part of your Sunday with me. I look forward to coloring something else next Wednesday, and you never know what's going to happen on this channel, so tune back in to find out what we tackle next. All right, take care, my friends. Bye-bye.